Welcome, and thank you for joining this session of Innovation Institute 2021. With nearly 50 sessions available through the summer, we know you'll be discovering new skills, strategies, and resources to transform the teaching and learning in your classroom, and we would love to hear from you. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to visit the Town Hall in Attendify to connect with the attendees through the activity stream or community features. If you would like a certificate of attendance for attending this session, you will find the request form linked at the end of the session description in Attendify. Thank you, and enjoy this session from one of our amazing Innovation Institute presenters.
Hello, welcome to Bring Out the Genius in Your Genius Hour. I'm Michelle Kendrick. I'm going to be your host for this presentation. Hey, please notice the bit.ly link in the left-hand corner of the slide. If at all possible, open up the slide presentation because I'm going to ask you to participate in a few activities as we go along. Again, I'm Michelle Kendrick. I've been with the eMENTS National Center for 20 years. I'm currently a program coordinator, and I've been managing a really large federal grant that we have that focuses on engineering design across the curriculum. I'd ask you to locate the Attendify chat on your screen and let us know who's in this room, what's your name, and what is your role at your school. Also, have you implemented a Genius Hour or 20% time with your students? Due to the absolute wonders of technology, when this presentation airs, I am going to be hiking in the Grand Canyon. So I'm not going to be here to participate. I'm counting on you guys to communicate with one another. I have a couple goals for our work today. Foremost is I want to introduce a process for completing a Genius Hour with your students. I'm going to go into more detail on how to help students pick their passion and focus it, because true genius is only developed when persons are passionate about what they do. So what is Genius Hour? I'm sure many of you have heard the story of 20% time. It received a lot of attention when featured in the book Drive by Daniel Pink. Employers gave their employees up to 20% of their work time to complete a project of their choice, something they created themselves, something they were passionate about. I think it is probably most famous at Google. At one time, Google claimed up to 50% of its projects, things like Gmail and Google News, could be attributed to 20% time. Schools have taken this concept and given students time to complete a project with a topic totally of their own choosing. Some schools took the 20% time literally, but most just work what time they can into their schedule for student projects. I have outlined a process for a classroom Genius Hour that includes 7 steps. As you can see, these steps involve capturing your students' passion. Start by introducing the concept of Genius Hour to your students, then lead them through picking a passion, focusing it into a workable idea, pitching that idea to others and getting feedback, then building their project, presenting their project, and finally reflecting about their learning. We will begin with step 1, introducing the Genius Hour concept to your students. And for that, let's have a little pep talk from Kid President.
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, you. Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, aren't we all on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. 2 roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My pants broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But what if there really were 2 paths? I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said, don't stop believing unless you dream stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream and keep going. Keep going, keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, yes, he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. It's everybody's duty to give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You've just been pep talked. Create something that will make the world awesome.
Your conversation with your students might go something like this. How can you be less boring? Go after something you care about. How are we going to get to your awesome? We're going to try something called the Genius Hour, and it's totally designed to get to your awesomeness. I don't know about you, but I started wondering, whatever happened to that kid president? Well, here he is, 17 years old, and he's still giving pep talks. There are so many materials for introducing and running a Genius Hour already created and online. You really don't have to make a thing. Take a look at this haiku deck that introduces your students to what is a Genius Hour. What if you could learn about anything you wanted? What questions would you ask? What problems would you solve? Welcome to Genius Hour, your time to explore. We have just 4 rules. Rule 1, make sure you seek approval for your project. Rule 2, your project must involve research. You must use your research to create something of use to others. You will present and share your work. I'm really excited for us to get started next week. You have given students the basic idea. Now, what questions will your students ask about Genius Hour? Pretend to be a student. Click on the link on slide 16 that says, "What will your students ask about Genius Hour?" Post your questions your students will ask in this Google Doc. Again, I am at this very moment hiking, I'm sure by now I'm totally out of breath, in the Grand Canyon. So I'm counting on you to follow through without me. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Go. Okay, wrap it up and come back to your slideshow. My next suggestion is to involve your students in creating norms for working during the Genius Hour time. Here are some sample norms I created with a group of 40 high school kids as we worked on a 2-day design project. On slide 17 are 2 videos with students talking about their Genius Hour projects that you might want to show your students to give them some ideas. The first video involves middle school and the second high school. Notice the difference in the level of projects for these age groups.
Our Genius Hour project was to learn dances from movies and TV shows from Hannah Montana.
I learned and will perform cartridges to entertain my classmates.
We are writing a science fiction fantasy story.
And we want to learn to be better writers and editors.
So, I'm blogging about books because I love to read and I want to share what I love with others. And I'm blogging by posting what I have read, what I want to read, and what others are recommending to me.
I experienced 1 month in a wheelchair to see life from a different point of view.
I'm writing a book of short stories to help teenagers identify with themselves.
With the help of therapy dogs, we shared our love for animals and brought happiness to hospital patients and children.
I choreographed, learned, and filmed a Spanish ballroom routine.
I cut sugar out of my diet to bring awareness of the epidemic of diabetes in America.
I wrote, directed, and produced a dramatic horror on teenage revenge.
I created a
Just remember, Genius Hour should be about kids pursuing something they can really get interested in and really excited about. It's a chance for them to self-reflect, to learn something about themselves. So try to get them to think about what drives them. So instead of going to the web and typing in Genius Hour or Passion Hour and taking someone else's ideas, showing examples is good for them to get an idea of what Genius Hour means, but it's their own passion that really pushes them to think higher. Brainstorming is another great way to find a Genius Hour idea. Ask individual students to brainstorm ideas for the statement, "The things I love most in life." The book Pure Genius recommends group brainstorming as a way to spark ideas. Do this out loud with your students so they can bounce ideas off each other. Give students some rules from brainstorming and post those rules so they live in the room. We are going to try an electronic version. Record your ideas in the Jamboard that is linked on slide 19. Answer the question, what are some problems in my world? You can add sticky notes with each idea. You will have 2 minutes. If you run out of ideas, just keep thinking. Good ideas will come. Examine the list of problems that were created in that Jamboard. Is there anything that you could build a project around? The next step would be to choose the most interesting one and then create a list of solutions for that problem. And that's where the project ideas really come from. Return to slide 21. Here's a sample brainstorm that I completed with a group of teachers. One of them chose to address the issue of lack of women entering STEM fields. Look at the fabulous project ideas for this topic that this group came up with. Slide 22 contains a link to a website that accompanies this presentation. There are many more ideas here for picking a topic idea. Visit slide 23 and examine the 2 projects linked on this slide. What conclusions might you draw by comparing these 2 projects? Now keep in mind, these examples are at 2 different points in the project. Inventions made by mistake is an example of a product. Desalination filter is a journal that is completed along the way. You have 2 minutes to briefly scan these projects. You can access the project websites by clicking on the pictures on the slide. If we were together and I wasn't at the Grand Canyon, we would talk about many different comparisons between these 2 projects. But I bet someone would notice, and I would want you to notice, the level of thinking in each of these projects. The science topics are basically the same, but inventions made by mistake is what I would call a go look up and tell me back report. Most of what was done could actually be copied off the web. Desalination filter, however, involves students in solving a problem. They applied information, they experimented, they created something useful to other people. Do you think a writing report taps into most kids' passions? People are excited when they make something, when they do something important, when they make a difference to others. One way to push students to this higher level thinking is to coach kids to apply their passions rather than writing a factual report. What good thing will they do with their information? We are now moving on to step 3, focusing your passion. One important way to focus the project and push student thinking to higher levels is to help kids write a good driving question. A driving question guides the focus of the project. It is an open-ended question that sets the stage by creating interest and curiosity. To create a good driving question, apply these stems to the question frame. How can I, for who? Put in your topic idea and your audience to create a sentence that drives action. How can I design what, create what, analyze what, persuade who to do what, invent what, solve what, decide what? Let me show you an example. A few years ago, I became passionate about monarch butterflies. Did you know that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says that monarch butterflies actually qualify for the endangered species list, but they have been prevented from that list by other even more threatened species? I wanted to do something about it. My first question was, how can I design a monarch garden for my yard? But I wanted to do something bigger and involve more people. So my new question became, how can I persuade the citizens of Monroe City to build monarch gardens? This led me to hold a town monarch day with a plant sale, poster competitions, kid games, and expert speakers. Once your students have a good focused topic and a driving question, the next step is the pitch. Ask your students to pitch their idea and get feedback. You may want to invite an external audience to come to your class to see your pitch day. Here is an example of a student pitching her idea.
Incredibly important, not only for formal learning purposes, but to expand vocabulary and increase creativity. But it seems that not a lot of people nowadays like to read. So for my 20% project, I'll be making book-related videos on YouTube, book reviews, book tags, book discussions, and more. The target audience for my videos are people who love to read and want to discuss. I also hope to influence those who don't like to read that much to become more passionate about books. I currently have 122 subscribers, and I have reached a lot of authors and readers alike. I can't wait to see where my project goes from here.
Visit the Genius Hour website to see more ideas and tools for helping students pitch their ideas to get feedback before they begin their actual work on their project. Now your students are ready to actually work on these projects. Here are some good questions for you to think about as you plan the build stage of your Genius Hour. There are many more resources on the website to help you help your students build their passion. I'm just going to jump on my little soapbox here for just 1 minute. We all know that the world of information is just remarkably different than it was 10 or 20 years ago. And I really truly believe that in order to maintain a democratic society, to compete in a flat world, to give your students a chance at a better future, the most important thing that we as teachers can teach them is to be able to critically read information from the internet and to be able to logically discern what is truth and what is probably not. Information literacy skills are just critical to students today, and they are, if nothing else, a really important reason to do a Genius Hour project with your students. And now we move to present your passion. How will your students show what they have learned? Many persons choose the TED Talk route. Here are some students presenting their passion.
We get 1 hour every week to ourselves to work on a project that we want to do.
I'm sure most of us were pretty skeptical.
That's awesome.
My computer, which runs on Linux, decided it didn't want to run this free animation program because who uses Linux?
Profit that will go back to the school and for financial aid.
I got an idea of what it's like out there in the real world.
We also put a lot of time into measuring the amount of materials we would need.
I could do a stop motion about Macbeth using fast food products, Big Mac, Dunkin' of Donuts.
I, on the other hand, am completely satisfied with how my project turned out, and I attribute that to the fact that I didn't really want to do it.
What could I do? I thought to myself, and then it hit me.
How much parallel compression is too much parallel compression?
Consider giving your students choice in how they present their projects, and definitely give your kids a public, authentic audience for their presentations. For example, high-tech high students hold student exhibition nights every quarter or semester. Consider creating a YouTube channel, or you might use the hashtag Genius Hour on Twitter to get feedback for your kids. Don't leave out this last step. Think about your passion. We many times overlook reflection when there's a time crush. But thinking about learning is a key to actually learning. Here are some good questions that guide students to look back at what they did, inward at their thinking, outward at what impression they made on others, and forward to how they might apply their learning in the future. Now you have ideas for all 7 steps. Introduce Genius Hour, pick, focus, pitch, build, present, and think about your passions. The website has a teacher's side as well, and there's a template there with guiding questions, and there's many, many more resources to help you think through doing a Genius Hour with your students. So all I can say is go forth and inspire some genius. Thanks for coming. Send me an email and let me know how your Genius Hour goes. If you have questions, discuss those with each other in the chat. I'm pretty sure that right about now, I'm tired of hiking and I'm sitting on a big rock in the middle of Utah, enjoying the view. Have a great summer.
Thank you for joining this session. To request a certificate of attendance, you can access the link at the bottom of the session description, scan the QR code here, or go to bit.ly/I2 certificate. Bit.ly shorteners are case sensitive, so please be sure to use all uppercase letters. Hear what insight other I2 attendees and presenters might have on this session and other breakout sessions by connecting with the Innovation Institute community on Facebook or Twitter at I2 Estale or in Attendify's interactive features. And don't forget to mark your calendar for June 8th and 9th to join us for I2 2022. Thank you.